important things you would bring with you? He goes, a compass, a canteen of water, and a deck of cards. He goes, well, why would you bring the cards, Davy? He goes, well, the compass is to find the right direction, and the water is to prevent dehydration. But the cards, he goes, oh, well, sir, as soon as you start playing solitary, somebody's going to bound to come up to you behind and say, put that red 9 on that back end, and then you won't be lost anymore. The word for the day is preparation. My father, who would have turned 100 a few months ago, was an inspector at Westinghouse Steam Turbine in Leicester, Pennsylvania. Nuclear steam turbines. He worked on a lot of firsts for the nuclear industry. The first nuclear-powered merchant marine ship, the NS Savannah. The first nuclear-powered submarine, the USS Nautilus, which is decommissioned but still afloat in Groton, Connecticut. They won't let you see the turbine, but you can go into the boat anyway. The USS Enterprise, the first nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. Playing with nukes and steam turbines was a very exacting business. I still have a few of my father's tools. I tried to find the one last night and I couldn't. But I have this it's a little spring and a magnet, and you put it up against a piece of ferrous metal, and the magnet attracts to the metal, and as you pull it away, eventually the spring overpowers it. But just before it lets go, there's a little gauge there, and by measuring the force, you can tell how thick the paint is. It was very important to somebody, right? But it's a neat little play toy. I have that. And also thickness gauges. Some call them feeler gauges, but these are mine. I had them, I knew where they were last night, and as soon as I was writing this, I went, huh, and I walked right in, and within a minute, I had them in my hands. I haven't used them in 20 years, because we don't gas spark plugs anymore. But in my house, feeler gauges were like pencils. They were everywhere. Everybody had a feeler gauge in my house. So anyway, but that's right. I found out later that not every house in America has an assortment of thickness gauges floating around. Anyway, my father was a very precise person when it came to construction and building and assembling machinery. Checking things before you used them and maintaining them when they needed it were paramount to his life. When we would plan for a trip to the shore, everybody knew that, one, we waited till Dad got out of bed, no waking him up early, and two, we had to prepare the car before we left. It was only an hour and a half ride to the beach, but the car had to be checked first. If any one of us decided we were going to Rutland or Burlington or Springfield, we'd get in the car, put gas in it, and go. But not in my house. On the Robinson family trip to the beach day, we would, one, change the oil, two, we would check the oil level in the transmission, and three, we would check the oil level in the rear differential. In those days, that involved not pulling a dipstick, but crawling underneath. So, that involved the oldest and the skinniest kid, me, crawling on his back underneath the car on the rough asphalt, busting my knuckles trying to get the square-bedded plugs out of those impossibly placed locations where the car designers placed the plugs. And of course, we had to warm the oil first so it would flow out easily. So that added to it the allure of a hot exhaust pipe trying to burn me while I wrestled those plugs loose. And tools. When our 1964 Chevy station wagon with 150,000 miles on it was stolen, the insurance company paid us twice the value of the car for the tools that were in the back of the car. But my father was always prepared. In that deep well in the back of the car was almost anything mechanical you would need to get us to the shore and back. Be prepared. We hear it from the Boy Scouts, from the book Scouting for Boys by Robert Baden-Powell, the founder of Scouting. The Scout motto is, be prepared, which means you are always in a state of readiness in mind and body to do your duty. Be prepared in mind by having disciplined yourself to be obedient to every order, and also by having thought out beforehand any accident or situation that might occur, so that you know the right thing to do at the right moment and are willing to do it. Not too much pressure to put on a Boy Scout, huh? Be prepared in body by making yourself strong and active and able to do the right thing at the right moment and do it. There were different versions. This wasn't in the original. There were some really different versions of this that were written, and some of them were very stringent. I can't imagine us telling our children today some of the words that they used. It was an eye-opener. We hear it from the doomsday preppers. Preppers, if you haven't heard the term before, are people that think that if only they buy the right stuff and store it in the right place and hide the right stuff in the right place, then when the zombie apocalypse happens, or a nuclear attack, or the rampaging mobs attack, or the black helicopters come for them, that if they've done it right, they will survive. They will be prepared. My father, the scouts, the preppers, they all were or are into something, into preparing for something physical, something tangible. Advent is a season of preparation also, and while it coincides with our preparations for Christmas, it has a different origin and different calling for us. Our preparations for Christmas involve a lot of doing some things, don't they? Making plans, buying stuff, sending cards, buying stuff, getting food, buying stuff. The term Advent derives from the Latin adventus. It means coming. It has come to be a time of fasting and prayer and quiet reflection on the incarnation of Christ. For Christmas, the season of Advent anticipates the coming of Christ from three different perspectives. Since the time of Bernard of Clairvaux in 1153, Christians have spoken of three comings of Christ: in the flesh in Bethlehem, in glory at the end of times, and in our hearts daily. Advent offers the opportunity to share in the ancient longing for the coming of the Messiah. It is time to be alert for his second coming, and a time to rekindle in our hearts our daily relationships with Christ. It is unknown when the period of preparation for Christmas that is now called Advent first began. It was certainly in place by 480 AD. Bishop Perpetus of Tours, who died in 490, ordered fasting 3 days a week from the day of St. Martin's till Christmas. St. Martin's was November 11th, so almost 2 months. The Council of Tours in 567 ordered monks to fast every day in the month of December until Christmas, 24 days. In the 6th century, it was customary to fast on all days except Saturday and Sunday, from St. Martin's Day to Epiphany. That was 56 days. 40 days of fasting. So 40 days sounds like, Lent. So they called it St. Martin's Lent. In the Anglican and Lutheran churches, this fasting rule was later relaxed. The Roman Catholic Church abolished fasting sometime about 1916, but they kept Advent as a season of penitence. In addition to fasting, there was no dancing and no festivities. I'm sorry. On Rose Sunday, which is interesting because there's 2 Rose Sundays. There's a Rose Sunday in Lent, and there's a Rose Sunday in Advent. Can you guess which candle we light in Advent on Rose Sunday? A pink one. And in the Catholic tradition, they moved from the purple robes of royalty to the pink robes of hope, looking forward. So Rose Sunday, the 3rd Sunday of Advent, you were allowed to break your fast on that Sunday. The Eastern Orthodox and Oriental Orthodox churches still hold the tradition of fasting during the day for 40 days before Christmas. So while the traditions have changed over time, Advent has been a tradition of preparing for the commemoration of Christ's birth. It is also a time to look forward to the second coming, but most importantly for us today, it calls us to stop and pause, to stop and think, and to reevaluate Christ's place in our heart. It seems we're so busy all the time anymore. We have these connections to the world that, yes, they keep us close to our loved ones, but they also keep us connected to business and to work. I enjoy the moment every night once I get past the back Westminster Road on 121. No more cell phone. I can get emails on Wi-Fi at home, but only if I look. It drives some of the people I work with crazy that they can't call me at all hours of the day and night. I've been accused of lying about the cell phone reception at my house before. I put one of my bosses in the Saxons River Inn for a night, and he was not amused. We have so much calling for our attention. Read me, answer me. It's very important. This will only take a moment. Speaking of cell phones, the Vermont State Police are now running policemen in the back seats of the Department of Transportation trucks. So if you happen to be going along, you go to pass the Department of Transportation truck, there's somebody sitting in that back of that truck videotaping you so they can stop you if you're playing on your phone. Just be aware. The story goes of a movie director watching an actress who couldn't stand still. She was fussing with her hair and she was wildly gesturing, and he yelled to her, "Don't just do something, stand there." Maybe that's some really good advice for more than just that actress. Maybe between all of the running that we do this Advent, this Christmas season, maybe we should all just find the time to just do something. Stand there. Our ancestors in the Christian faith thought it was important enough that they fasted for days. 25 days, 40 days, 56 days. They thought it was a significant enough of an event that they forego eating during the day to allow them time to reflect on the Christ that lived in their hearts. Maybe we should all take a moment, maybe more than one moment, and stop long enough this holiday season to remember what Advent means to us, or what Advent should mean to us, and what it should mean to the Christ that lives in our hearts. Don't just do something. Stand there. Amen.
Amen.